All right, we're here.
Official announcement.
Oh, yeah.
We finally got the gym.
Yeah.
So we found a warehouse. It's just a big warehouse. It's 240 square meters but it's like 40 meters long.
Yeah.
So it's over 100 feet long by 6 meters wide, something like that. So 60 by 40, it's about 240 square meters. And for training, it's going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
We can have lanes and we're going to make it hipster as fuck.
Yeah, so we've got like the full sled run, all indoors.
Yeah, all indoors, which in the Netherlands is nice because you don't want to get wet.
I was always wondering that about the training outside. You know, now people can train outside with the gyms, and I was like,
it is Holland.
it's like, well,
you never
the
know.
weather has been amazing, so go for
we
it.
hope it stays. Yeah,
But there's been, there's times we've been here for 2 weeks and not seen the sun.
Yeah, or within 10
And it
minutes it
rains
starts
every
pouring
10
down.
minutes,
Yeah. So it'll be, we'll be indoors and everything, garage door, the whole thing. That's gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
So we just signed. We start moving the stuff yesterday, and next Friday, so for us the 29th, is official moving date.
So we're officially out of HQ in Utrecht.
Yeah, and then we are officially HQ Amsterdam.
Yeah, and so
StrongFit Amsterdam.
We're completely out of Utrecht now, basically.
Yeah. I still have the
grab an air
apartment
conditioner out of storage in the apartment,
and we're good.
Off we go.
Yeah, it's in Amsterdam. Like, I'm very excited about the gym.
Yeah,
it's you're gonna see because Tyler hasn't seen it
I
yet.
only saw the outside.
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it is a long ass ride for sure. I went there.
E-bike,
I went there last night to pick up the bike that we brought back from Utrecht, Megan and I, and it was a long bike. Here's what I figured out.
It's a shitty bike you got.
Yeah, true. I think though that it's like mostly uphill for like 2/3 of the way back. It seems like I'm kind of going at grade.
Not really. No, because you go against the wind on the shitty bike.
That is true.
So
that is true.
By the way, guys, if you see the video have some stability issue, it's not the camera. It's my kitten, she's 4 months old and the size of a grown cat. Because she's a Maine Coon, but she's still a kitten, so she runs into things. Yeah. She's not the most coordinated thing yet.
It's like watching an adult baby.
Yeah, basically, because she's the size of a grown cat. But so anyway, we have once you see inside, once we can do all our stuff, you'll be worth going. You just get an e-bike.
Yeah, that's the plan. We get an e-bike. It's the time actually isn't that big of a deal. Like, if the time with the e-bike, it's really not too bad.
It'll be 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So, but the effort. All I was thinking,
e-bike
here was the thing too, is we had loaded, everything out of the gym.
Exactly.
Loaded everything up and then got back.
So a bit
and then
tired.
got there. So just essentially was what you would describe as a training day that's more like a actual physical work day. But it was training essentially like physical work. Then we get there.
High volume. And
it is fucking windy. And I have no idea really how far the bike ride is.
Right.
So I get going about halfway back and I'm like 20 minutes left. And I was like, whoa. and then I get to where I'm like 10 minutes from home and 5 minutes from home. But also not familiar with coming home from that direction at all either. So I kind of expected that since I know most of what I thought was 10 minutes away from my house, I get to where I'm like 4 minutes from home, and I think, as far as I know, I'm still on the fucking moon. You know, and I was like, I don't know. And so it's this long, uncertain ride, and all that's going through my head is, I could probably manage this after I trained if I had to, but I don't know if I can train. Like if I did this and then train, but I had to be in my head. I was like, well, you did do all that shit today already, so maybe it wouldn't be that bad if you got there and then trained. But e-bike will be a requirement just for the winter for the time. But
anyway, again, e-bike 25 minutes, under 25 minutes. I bet you. So from here, it's 30 minutes on my bicycle. On e-bike, I'll do it under because the e-bike. It'll go a bit fast. I'm not gonna say exactly how, but it's past legal. Let's be honest. It'll be 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I love e-bikes because you can still get to pedal.
Yeah,
it's very enjoyable. Like for Disney December, put the music on, nasal breathing on an e-bike.
Well, and that's the one thing I liked about that. Because like, if I'm gonna do any like cycling that's purposeful, here,
going to the gym.
I have to go or I have to go out in like a wide open stretch. We've kind of talked about that.
Yeah, this one is a straight
privately, line. But for Disney December, for me, for it to be kind of useful, I can't be worrying about all these social constructs like passing someone. where other people
or even
are going.
stopping and going, it's not the same.
So if you can find a good shot where you can just ride, and then that's all right.
Yeah,
but the nice thing with the e-bike is it's similar to sitting on like a stationary bike, if you will, where you kind of can fix the output.
Yep.
So you fix what your assistance is, you fix what the output is, and then you can just kind of put out.
Yep. It'll be nice.
Yeah, it'll be sweet.
It'll be nice. I'm excited.
All right. Well, we got Q&A stuff today.
Yeah.
Did you want to start with the one from your email, or do you want me to go with these?
No. I'll go with mine. Okay. Which one do you want first? I want the three. I want to. How do you get there to where we are?
I like that one to start.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that way we don't have to pull from science to.
It's not that much. No, I won't go into a little bit, but nothing crazy.
I quoted it.
Yes. For me, anyway. So I was asked the question. It was worded a certain way. It was meant as a compliment, and someone asking me basically, like, because you see that on Facebook a lot now when they say find a mentor and all that stuff, and ask them how they got to where they are and everything. So pretty much I was asked, how did you get there?
Yeah.
To where you are? And I thought that was a very interesting question, because the fact that the person asked a question like that shows that they can't get there. Because it's back to objective versus constraints, and probably young, and I think profoundly misunderstood, first of all, what I do, and where is.
Yeah.
Because where is where? When you say there, where is there?
There's an arrival that's implied, if you will, an arrival to somewhere. There's also something.
Well, there's implying that I'm somewhere, that it means a place. What is that place?
But I also think that it might be possible they see you amongst what everything else you kind of see nowadays on the internet. Unless they've kind of been to a seminar or another thing, they see there's social media, there's podcasts, there's things, and
success,
there's your life, and there's just whatever that is, whatever your work and things you put out there is. And there's so much of that out there that when you start looking at it, you realize, oh wait, I don't actually know what any of that is.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of the stuff in this space where you look at, you're like, what are you just I don't even know if your business makes money. Are you a consultant? Are you? If you really look one more layer, it's like, well, what the fuck am I looking at?
I want to talk about that aspect. So because on the last few podcasts, especially the French one, I was asked, so how do you get to understanding what you understand? And so I want to go at it from two sides. So I'll explain my side, and then we can touch into that problem with Facebook and all that stuff where they're selling an objective, which I feel is very wrong for the people out there, because then they get really the wrong idea of what there means, because there is no there. So I'll go as to what was asked, and it's actually CJ asked me the same question on his podcast. I remember it's like, what happened? How did you, when did that switch happen? That suddenly you went like full retard on, I'm not saying the word retard, it's a joke, never go full retard. Tropic Thunder, know your classics, I'm just saying. And if you want me to be offensive, I have a joke about CrossFitters. I told you it's pretty funny.
We'll hang on to that one.
It's pretty funny. So that'll go on Instagram just to piss everybody off. Anyway, and CJ was like, says like you're in hyper learning now. What happened? How did you get there and everything? So I was like, all right, so I'll explain, because I don't think I've ever really explained that part.
Not really, no.
And so there's two aspects to this that I find very interesting. First of all, for me, there is no there. Like, this is absolutely not the way my mind works.
It's a moving state.
There is no,
right?
There's not even a moving state, because moving state implies that this is where I do not understand people, structure, and order. Because I guess for me, the only order is chaos. In the sense of moving state means that I'm standing on something solid that moves.
Yeah.
I'm like, there is nothing solid. I'm water, man. You know what I mean? Like, there's just layers. Like, there's nothing solid anywhere. So I never understand when people means there, because it's like there, like compared to what? Compared to tomorrow? Like, how the fuck should I know? Like, because I'm asked very frequently, like, where is StrongFit a year from now? I was like, I don't know where StrongFit is now.
Yeah. yeah.
If you ask me, I have no idea. Yeah. Like, people try to ask me to define things that for me, that's the Voltron effect we talked about last time, right? For me, everything is an event, is a whole. So whenever you ask me a question, I can only explain to you the whole.
Yeah.
I cannot explain to you an individual stimulus.
Yeah.
So that just because I fundamentally don't understand that. Yeah. So, but I can tell you how the thing happened. What was the switch that suddenly when I got into... So let me put it the other way. How come when I was like 30, 35, I wasn't looking into the nervous system? How come I wasn't doing what I'm doing now? Mm-hmm. Right. So that's actually, I think, is the better question. So to me, I feel like now I am who I should be, and I wasn't before. So why? Because I didn't think I could do it. I think that's the best answer I can give.
And that you didn't really know what it was either. Right.
Right.
Even
right.
It was a right. I mean.
Okay. So, for example, like so that I can go into the IQ real fast. You'll find that very interesting. I was reading a paper about IQ, and he was showing that the top IQ is people that are either in default mode network or executive network. But they were showing that the IQ has to be a high specificity into each network. That you cannot. So if someone is into the default mode network, the better they are at connecting the default mode network together, the higher the IQ. Or executive network, but then the better they are within executive network, then the higher the IQ. If those two mix, IQ goes down.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting because that means, first of all, the two types of intelligence. One that relates to the default mode network, the other one to the executive network, which is do.
Yeah.
What they did not relate is a high IQ to the salience network, which is the pattern recognition, which I find very strange, which makes sense because IQ is a test. You actually have to do stuff.
Yeah.
But if you look, I'm fully a salience network person. I'm a highly conceptual. I'm not good at doing the small stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, that's interesting because I don't have a especially high IQ. I tested the other day, I'm like 130 something. So I don't have a especially high IQ because my conceptual intelligence does not fit an IQ test.
Yeah.
So, but if you look and then if you extrapolate on that, that means school system, like all the stuff I can't do. So I grew up thinking I had a very high intelligence of a certain kind, but could never put it to use.
Yeah.
Where at least I could prove that I had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at some point you start to question yourself, as you should. You know, like, well, if I'm so smart, how come I'm not doing anything with it? Which
I'm so smart, why do I feel so dumb?
But what? But no, because I never felt dumb.
That's my
but
quote.
Yeah, exactly. No, but my question was like, if I'm so smart, how come I can't prove it? How come everybody is telling me that I'm dumb when I know I'm smarter than everybody? Not that it's true. I'm just saying, like growing up, that's kind of the idea. How come I can't prove it then? How come teachers tell me I can't do shit because I'm not working on it? Because the second I worked anyway. But there was that whole thing built up where I was like, well, I guess I'm going to be on the side forever.
Yeah.
And so I went toward what I was naturally good at and could prove, which is sports, athletics. I had the talent. So I was like, that came up and in competition. Then I'm like, so I ended up positioning myself in life based on what I could show others. And then, and that's really how I grew up. Worst idea in the world.
Yeah.
Do not do that. Do not base your identity and your life on what you can show others. But, well, live and learn, right? But no, it's not a good idea.
Everybody spends, I think, some amount of time
at the
like
beginning
in
trying to
an
do that,
unreasonable,
yes.
What's the word, like out of balance in that direction.
Exactly.
For sure.
And so, at some point, so I'm doing the stuff, and then the barbell shrug happened, and all that stuff happened, which really gave me confidence into my abilities, but past my physical abilities, which I was fine. But then suddenly, like mentally, I had something to offer the world, like the emails, all that stuff, the people reaching out, like, oh, I got something to offer, and that kind of opened up a door for me where I was like, you know, it's a Spider-Man thing. Like if, you know, like with great power comes great responsibilities. Like if you could do something and you do nothing with it, then aren't you partly responsible for the bad stuff that could happen then? Yeah. Which I still believe. And so that opened up a door and I was like, all right, so let me see what I can do. And then the stuff started to snowball. And at every layer, I grew a little bit more confident toward being able to do it. Yeah. And so suddenly at some point I was like, well, maybe I could do a bit more. But so it was a constraint. right? Mm-hmm. Based always on objective. So my life has always been constraint. The constraint is simple: is be better.
Yeah.
So,
but until probably that point, you probably didn't have enough validation to think that you could really put your foot on the gas.
Yeah.
And that, would you say that's because it was the validation that you needed in order to put your foot on the gas, even though you should have probably, if you had just done it, the validation would have come.
Right, exactly. But if you remember how I grew up.
Do you think that feels like wasted years, or do you think it's just timing that had to happen?
No, definitely. There's usually, it's a part of both, right? Yeah. There's still a part of me that I think that could have gone faster if I had the proper upbringing. Yeah. But remember, pounded down from the beginning, all the spectrum stuff, all that stuff, I was just pounded down. My confidence that, being told that that's the mother stuff, like being told that you're, fucking worthless continuously.
And I think yours is specifically, there's abuse and upbringing and emotional abuse and things like that. But I think you can see that often where people think that they belong in a place.
Yes.
Just because
they've been told.
And that can come from social class to income to like any number of things, looks, skill, a lot of those things, like
not good at school.
Yeah, like so maybe that question is less about how you got here, and more about how do you start transcending those layers.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. That's the key. And the fact is, you need some form of validation. Yeah. Like
there's no fucking data to keep you going in that direction.
Right.
At some point.
Right. You need, because I remember, I'm someone who, from the age of 8, was running into walls. I told you the story because I thought and reading comic books, if they can go through walls, then I should be able to. So it's not like confidence is a problem for me. And convinced when I was 8 that I was smarter than everybody, and asked my father if I was the kids of aliens, because I'm like, I don't belong in this group. Have you ever read about indigo people?
I have, yeah.
Right, I fit every single stuff in it. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I fit. I think there's 15 points or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm 100% on 15 points. It's not like all of them. No. Each point, I'm 100%. It's so funny.
Well, I want to say this is a point that I'd heard on a podcast before, and it seems to be relevant here, is that the guy said, like, every good idea starts with a minority of one. Yeah. Right? But at some point, you, like the average person in your life, like in a life of being put in a place or whatever, put in a box, you don't understand that for your idea to be worth it or to really have an impact, or any idea you're going to get through, you have to fully believe it when nobody else does. And that confidence to go, no, I am right. To like raise your hand and say that when you understand fucking anything. I don't know that a lot of people have that.
Because you have to build it. And so I can tell you from experience, this has to be built. Yeah. But when you start, when you have those small steps forward, if you get blasted at that moment, it can set you back and everything. Yeah. So in a way, my biggest luck, luck. I mean, luck, success, I guess it depends how you want to do it, is the StrongFit Podcast. Mm-hmm. Because I put a little bit of my system out there, not too much. Yeah. And I had such a positive response that it led me to finally believe that I could make a difference. Yeah. Maybe not change the world, but help. Yeah. Which has always been inside what I truly wanted. So suddenly I was given the opportunity and the validation that, look, you can help people. Mm-hmm. That made me feel so good. I was like, it made me feel like I had a responsibility to help.
I think if you get out there and you do put something out there, you work on hard, and even though it's a little bit of the system, not the whole thing, it's just here's kind of what I got, and it comes back and they plate that shit gold, man. Like you're like, exactly. I guess I think.
So the biggest thing for me is exactly that. So that the switch happened when I let myself be me. Yeah. When suddenly I had enough external validation to go, that it gave me the confidence to go, fuck it, let me just be me, not what they want. So that's the id versus the superego, right? I was mostly running on superego, and suddenly my id got big enough that it took over and allowing me to be who I truly am. And when I did that, everything just jump up. It's like exponential almost growth in my intelligence in the last few years.
Yeah.
Because every single time so it started with nervous system, and I was like, well, I seem to understand it okay. And then I went from the next one, and then those PhDs don't understand it. And at that stage, I could have gone like, well, therefore I'm wrong. And then I went, no, they're wrong. I'm smarter. And then I went further and further and further.
Well, it's really difficult to balance. I think you do this fairly well, and then there had to be a change where you balance healthy like criticism or skeptical analysis of what's going on, like really trying to find understanding with not being too overconfident or shitting on your own things too. Because at some point you have to look and say, okay, I think this thing says otherwise. Do I just have to take it because I'm, you know what I mean? At some point you do have to have the confidence to look into something
and you know what
a little
the secret
bit further
is?
and say, you know what, I do know this.
Yeah. You know what the secret is self-criticism.
Yeah.
That's the secret. So not to the point where it stops you from doing stuff, but when you look at something, you go like, I think it's right. You have to have the balls to go like, but do I truly, am I just fucking lying to myself right now?
Or that if you're going to carry it around, you better have a high enough standard to pick what you're going to carry around.
But without breaking inside, going like, am I lying to myself? I can look at myself in a cruelest way, but that doesn't break me. Because all I see in that case, I'm like, be better.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, progress. Because again, that goes back to constraints. My constraint is be better. So if I'm truly mistaken about something, I will enjoy it because I'm like, then I'll learn from that and I'll be better and then I'm cool.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get into those types of things with I just don't really know. And you don't, at some point but at some point when you say that, you've given up on thinking for yourself.
Right. And plus I don't really know. Good. Then I can be better at something.
Yeah.
Which is the only thing that matters to me. Is I want to be better at what I do.
Yeah.
That is my one constraint in life.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that I do.
And I think there's a point too, though, where in your talk with yourself on this stuff, where it went from like, okay, there's a point where maybe you belittle yourself with those things. Yeah. But then there's a line where then it's like, no, now we're not going that direction anymore. Saying I am in this place, pushing this direction.
Yeah, because there's two sides of it. There's the belittling,
it is be better. Now we
am I smart enough? No. I'm not even close. Like I still push. Until I get Professor Xavier powers, I'm not happy. And people think I'm joking. I'm not. But so I'll never be happy in that sense. Yeah. But on the other side is like, am I helping people?
Yeah.
Yes. Then that's it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you're helping people. So I have that side going like, okay, we're cool. Are you smart enough? No. So then I just push. You have to help people more in a better way. And so every single day when I wake up, it's like get better.
What about selecting your validation? Because there's a point where you have to figure out what is good validation and what you have to avoid, because you're going to get both.
So that's the thing so we can go into this because I think it applies to business very well. When I say get better, remember, like there is no happiness, there's only happiness at work and everything, there's only events, right? So that means that I have to choose what better means. There is no better, it's like happiness, right? There's no better unless it's associated in a context. So that means that you're gonna have to choose the context that relates to better. So for me, it was three things. Training, I have to get better physically, I have to get stronger, I have to be able to do stuff that I couldn't do before. So even though I'm older, I still intend to go back to 1,000 pound yoke carry because I made up my mind again. I'm gonna get but I'm gonna get stronger than last time. And but stronger means what also? Means like that fucking brachialis on the left, I'm gonna fix because now I know more than I know before. Like all the little kinks I didn't fix last time, so now I'm gonna do the same weight as last time, but without the kinks, without the small injuries, because I'm smarter. I know this better. That works, right? It was something with jiu-jitsu. Then I would want to learn leg locks because then I'm a more complete fighter than I was. Yeah. So there's that. There's intelligence, where I just have to. So smarter, what does that mean for me? It means processing information faster. I want to see patterns faster. I want to be able to analyze it and get the good stuff out of it. Being able to bullshit, that one.
Well, and accuracy has to be tightened up because you want to be able to, with what you do for a living, you need to be able to assess information, evaluate, answer, get to it, and then deliver it in a convincing way, or not convincing necessarily, but in a coherent way.
Coherent, exactly.
Yeah. And so it's a lot, and so you need to do it with accuracy. Yeah. You know, you can't just rifle through it and be like, I got this thing and it's wrong. Fuck. You know. What about though in this time frame, like setbacks, right? Because it seems like there's a switch and everything goes up. Is there any like major setbacks in this progress of better that you had come across in this last 4 years?
Not exactly setbacks, but like what I've learned is to stop. You know, like sometimes you get on a roll on something. Yeah. That's training, that's everything. And you start to hit the wall because it's time to just go on another one. It's like doing a 6-week strength cycle and now you're 6 months in.
Yeah.
Like you gotta, it doesn't mean give your body a break. It just means like, how about you work on something conditioning, strength endurance, like just something else than singles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like otherwise you just keep hitting the wall and everything. What I've realized now is that, again, that hitting the wall on one thing is the same problem as I'm chasing happiness.
Yeah.
There is no one single thing. It's a Voltron effect. Everything is always stuff. So that means that if I hit a ceiling somewhere, I feel I'm not going further, that means I let something else somewhere just fall apart. That's a critical mass idea, right? Critical mass is not you pull one from the top, is something at the bottom somewhere is falling off so much that the whole reaction cannot happen anymore. If you look in physics, I mean, you need everything within a percentage of each other for the reaction to take place of critical mass. If one pulls out, the whole thing stops. Yeah. So that's literally, that means that in my approach, I let something fall off. And so I have to come back like a relationship, right? You know what I mean? It's the same thing, which is the third stuff. Yeah. For me, is beautiful women. That's my third thing. Anyway, so that's the way I look at it. So when what I had to learn, it was like I was just getting so into one way that I let certain things fall off.
Yeah.
Right. So now I've learned to handle that better. So again, like like critical mass. So with what I do, I need to be able to read while paying a lot of attention for a long time. That's actually very taxing. Yeah. So I've learned to read more science fiction on the side to keep the muscles of reading that keep going, to keep my attention focused on something and everything. Yeah. I had to learn to I guess you would say the value of sacrifice is just let go of TV. Like time is precious, is a precious commodity. Where do you want to spend it? If you truly believe that, for example, you can help people with anxiety or stuff like that, not do you have the right, as in, will you give yourself the right to go and spend 6 hours binge TV on Friends or shit like that?
Yeah. What is that time doing for you? Yeah.
What is that time doing for the people you want to help? Right. And so I look at a lot of stuff. It's like, so I don't watch TV, I don't do stuff because I'm like, no, I got something to do in this life.
And I think even the term you use though, like with sacrifice, isn't how you feel about it. It's just the
no, at all.
It's like your want actually needs to change. It doesn't need to be things you don't want.
It's not strong enough.
It's like you got to change your want in your.
What do I need to help people? Okay, so I'm like, so what do I need to do to get there? And my want sometimes is not strong enough compared to my need. So that's, if I had setbacks, it's realizing that my want was not strong enough. I was soft on certain things. Like, it's like the protocol now. I'm like, if I see something does not do well, I'm like, then I won't do that. And now I got to that stage where I have enough authority. My want is not enough to go like, all right, whatever, fuck it. It's like, I have to do bicep every training session to warm up. Fine.
Yeah.
Some days you want to do it. I'm like, what does it have to do with anything?
Yeah.
I mean, like you need to do it. Okay, so that's my for the longest time, my want was taking over my need. And I've learned to reverse that. My need is stronger than my want now. Yeah. And I think, honestly, that is the biggest lesson that I've learned in the last few years. Is like, it's not about what you want. It's about what you need. Let it go.
And I think there's a lesson that I see from watching kind of since the beginning of this thing with you, how this has gone, is that you are not playing anyone else's game though either. No. And I think that's like for anyone who wants to know how do you get there, well there is a very different thing than what you're there with. The person who's asking your questions there is. And I get asked a lot of things similar ways, and it always comes back to, it's like people ask me, how did you end up with the podcast with Julien and all that stuff? It's like, well, I had my own podcast and I started and I built and hustled and like did that whole thing on its own thing. Yeah. And then I thought that idea could work here. But then that's a thing. But, coming to a thing, well, how do I get from zero to there? It's like, well, that's not really it. Like, you got to move forward at your thing.
Right. So it's a
and then your thing will change too, because I could have tried to put every egg in my Massonomics basket, kind of did in a lot of ways reasonably within life balance, but really did everything we could to make that as successful. Then I had my gym also. I put every egg into making sure that could be. Then, and it's not about giving up necessarily. It's just new opportunities that have grown from it. But imagine if I was do or die on any one of the last 3 or 4 career things that I had.
Exactly. Then you still be there.
And yet every single one, I have lessons that I carry with, like fundamentally, in every single one of the next things that I do. I mean, I talk all the time about everything I learned from heating and air conditioning, the online
because
stuff,
it taught you,
and
that's the
gym
important
and coaching.
part.
And
like, imagine if you're on the trail up the mountain, right? There's trees everywhere, and you're so busy enjoying it, thinking about your stuff and everything. And so if someone asks you where you are on the trail to the mountain, you'd be like, I have no fucking clue, because who cares? Mm-hmm. The point is not where I'm at on the trail to the mountain. I didn't even know there's a mountain. Yeah. So that's why when you say there, to me, it's like you're asking me, how do you get to the top of the mountain? I was like, there's a mountain? I didn't even know there was one. It's like, where are you on the trail? I was like, I'm on a trail? I have no fucking clue. But because I don't play anybody else's game. So there is no trail. Me, I'm just doing my thing. And it happens that, it fits somewhere on the trail. But that's not my trail. So I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't want to end up at someone else's destination. That's no good.
If you start to let people tell you what to do, and that's a bit my problem when I see Facebook with the mentor stuff. Do you need a mentor? It's like, yes, but not someone to tell you what to do either. Like it's starting to get very businessy in that sense. And so to answer directly the question is like, how do you get there where we are? Have a constraint. So in my case, it's be better. And then because your constraint becomes your need. Yeah. My need is to be better. Have your need stronger than you want. I don't care what you want, and I don't care what you don't want to do. See your need and look at what is needed to get that constraint. Again, it's not an objective, because be better is not an objective by definition, because you're never there. And I never will be there. I will never be smart enough. Like the superpowers, if I get to Professor Xavier, I want Dark Phoenix. I'm just saying. But why? Because it's a constraint and an objective.
Yeah.
I just want to be better. But so what I've learned really over all that time is what is necessary to get there, which is I'm still not happy with how strong my want is sometimes. It still gets in the way. I don't like it. But my need is a lot stronger now. So
I think you understand too that putting yourself in a situation that does force you to do it is I think a big difference maker. I think when Barbell Shrug happened for you, you could have sat back and launched some online programs, but you wanted there was more experience, more out there to be had. There was more. But because it was never, by the way, to sit there and do.
It was never about the business. Like you have to understand, and I said that early on. Like StrongFit is not a business. StrongFit is my life. It's just the way I run my life, and we need a business to obviously pay bills and stuff like that. But StrongFit is not a business, and I never do this for business. I could walk away tomorrow and do something. The point for me is I have 3 things I need to get better at. There's a physical part. There's a mental part. And then there's a relationship with beautiful women part. And my thing is I will get better at those 3. I'm not saying when I say beautiful women that I need 1 is fine, maybe 2 at most. But not that there has to be 1,000,001. That's not the point. It's just there's a connection with the beautiful women, and to make this the deepest I can. It's the same thing with physical. How do I get better to Colossus levels? Yeah. And smart is like, how do I get that to Brainiac. That was the one in that's a DC character, but that's it, right? And so all my energy is this, and so on the way to get better, good stuff happens. That's it.
Well, and if you do it right, there's in that process.
You're like, well, good shit will happen.
Well, I gotta have a business. I gotta feed myself. So you
and
work
good
on
shit
the
will
business.
Happen. But look, why we did the podcast, because we wanted to explain what we do better to people.
That was it.
That was it. We just wanted to give the information to you guys and in a better format.
Well, and better really does sit at everything we do, because it would be very easy to come in and say, oh, we want this program and this and this online class and this, and we could do all this big, it's this bunch of shit. But but what we came in is realize there is a hole here. Instead of shooting for some end target, we start podcasting so that more of this stuff gets laid down. More people can hear it in a long form. Then we roll into the library.
What did we
start
take
growing?
Out? We took out some of the programs because they were not good enough. And it's like we need to be better. And that's why really we're working on this year.
New format to get better.
We're just trying to get better.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then things happen.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how you get there.
And if I came in saying I just want to do the podcast, that'd be wonderful. But like I said, better on getting StrongFit information out was what we wanted to be doing. Therefore, that evolves naturally then when we're just looking for how to do this job better into we have the podcast and the library. And then we have different things within the StrongFit library.
The library, that was exactly the same thing.
So all of this is part of the same mission, which is to get better at educating while you get better in the learning thing. All of that starts to roll out on this slow roll of better.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But that's the power of constraints.
Yeah.
They open the door to everything that you want in a way, in that sense. I mean, but whereas objectives narrow down everything. Because if you look at constraints, will give you everything that you need. Objectives will give you everything that you want.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it's not about what you want. It's about what you need. Like the Rolling Stones were right. Like that's, if there's one thing I've noticed in the way universe pays you back is that it doesn't give you what you want, but it does give you what you need. Yeah. So what you have to be precise is into what you need. Just the more precise your need is, the more it will be met. That's what I've learned out of life so far. Is when I'm very, very, very precise with my need, things happen.
Yeah.
When I let what I want get in the way, then nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
Not the good stuff anyway. You know what I mean? Like it's that's what I've seen. So to get there, that's
so if you wanted a short recipe for success, this is not the place.
No, I think it's constraints based. Have the constraints, in my case, is be better, and then let your life be molded by that.
Yeah.
If you can do that, if you can let your life be molded by that, I believe you'll go somewhere.
Yeah, in my case too, when I zoom back at what the constraints of everything that I kind of do with life and work, it really comes down to basically take care of family, but have a unique experience and experience the actual world and what life has to offer. Well, what do I have to do to do that?
That's a pretty big one too, by the way, because that's an open...
But I believe that because of that, there are things that I think you should, along that mission, help people because that's a part of it. You know what I mean? Yes. Really helping people. If you don't understand what it's like to... if you want to feel better about your day, help somebody. Be generous. Like those types of things. True. And that's true. There is no way around that. Nobody can
all cultures have said it. Yep.
Yeah. So if that is a part of your mission, like it's just very easy. So all those things just kind of play out. I find work in which I can help people. I find work in which we can build this system. It all helps people. And then in the process, look, we end up we're in Vienna, we're in Amsterdam. We get to do lots of cool things all along this same constraint-based approach, and it's really nice because this is why then we don't get hung up on specifics with work.
Yes,
because there will be a project that will come and we'll be like, pull plug, poof, go.
Yeah, because it's not good enough,
and it's just whatever. And we none of us bat an eye. You and I have never really. I've never thrown out a good idea because it wasn't mine. That's for goddamn sure. You know, I could work on a project for a long time. We get a better idea coming. Yes,
that works better.
We're about this and not anything else.
Yeah, and we pull a plug on stuff because it wasn't just. It was a good idea, but we just can't at this stage make it the way we want.
And we revisit that stuff all the time, and so but that's kind of how for me that's how kind of my shit functions.
Yep.
And it's a little loose, and I think I could provide a lot more focus on the specifics on better. But for me, that's the loose shit that's at least got me,
But that's the thing.
Sitting where I sit.
Constraints by definition are loose because it's an open door.
Yeah.
It's a divergent thing.
Yeah.
You know? So you're always going to be loose.
Yeah. But it's been but learning that approach is like that approach is something I maybe have done inherently a lot before, not maybe in having the terminology to describe it. And then the times that I always fucked up was when I did the opposite.
Yep. Yes.
The exact opposite. And I look back at every time you got this thing, and what happens is I think you use the objective-based approach of me, and you get close to something.
Yep.
And you're like, wait a minute. Yep. Boom, and then fuck. And
so I can tell you something is that it is impossible to become smart with an objective-based mentality. That I can guarantee you.
Yeah, I believe that.
The only way to be truly smart is to be as divergent as possible, because you will need to pull from everything. And so the more stuff you experiment, your experience, that is the only way to be smart is a constraint, is be smarter, or whatever constraint you want to set up in your head. That is the only way to get smart. Is that the objective-based mentality will make you the king of trivia and dumb as fuck.
Yeah. That is true.
I know a lot of dumb smart people.
Yeah.
Like they're academics and they have all the stuff and the initials after their name, and you go like, oh my God, like you can only repeat stuff. Like all you do is whatever you learn over there, and 10 years later, you're still repeating the same shit.
Well, that one we went long on for a first one. Do you want to, let's roll?
Let's go faster.
Let's go with
so just
the Reich one?
5 minutes on the Reich one, because I find very interesting. So going back...
We're not in a hurry either.
Yeah,
I was just making sure we didn't
I thought that was this interesting. Like, I haven't studied it yet, but there's a rabbit hole that, for whatever reason, we are not touching. I find it interesting. So, right back, interoception, right? We talked about prediction versus observation. And so, for example, like the whole body hyperthermia therapy is what? Put a infrared light on the body, raise the body temperature past 38.2, 30 minutes, one session, 40 participants, up to 6 weeks of no major depression symptoms. Why? Because through the body, the overwhelming effect of the signals have basically reduced the somatic errors, right? So we see a lot of stuff like that. Exposure therapy, it's all the same idea. So let's take exposure therapy. Interoception, what did we see? The heart to the brain is linked directly, sense of self. It seems the gut to the brain, same idea. So you see the same theme coming. It's like it's the overwhelming feelings from the body that basically links to the brain that allows the lessening of the somatic error. Right. So looking at what organs allow you to have such a overwhelming feeling, you start to see what they use in exposure therapy. There is, and so I talked about the heart and I talked about the enteric system. What I cannot find is the role of sexual organs in there.
Yeah.
Like one of the basic driving force of life, sexuality, or at least maybe it's just me, but I seriously doubt it.
I would guess it is the.
At least, right. So
once
maybe I act on it a bit more than most people, but I seriously doubt I'm the only, or maybe I'm more honest about it. I think I'm just more honest about it.
I would say that's the case.
Because
most are.
The number of conversations I had with women, but like not out loud in front of everybody. They have to be separate, and it's just like, don't tell anybody. And I was like, right, so we all agree. Anyway, that's mostly that.
My question with sexual organs, before you get started, is what because we had talked about it just briefly, just not knowing where it fit. I think of it first as fundamentally from the senses, if you will. Are we going simply
that's where I'm going. Senses,
touch,
right?
And like, is that follow external sensation, exteroception?
Right. So touch is both.
Okay.
Is interoception and exteroceptions. Exteroceptions because it comes from the outside, but interoceptions because touch is
movement,
right.
Like any manipulation.
But we talked about this. This you just feel as something touched my skin. Megan does that; it becomes pleasurable. So that's the whole podcast we did about this, right? So there's part of the skin, and that's depending on speed, by the way. There's an entire correlation between speed, like an inverse correlation between speed and pleasure of touch. Yeah, slower is more pleasurable. It's funny how that works, right? And you have two patterns, myelinative, fibers in the skin, and one goes toward the cognition part and the other one goes just for the touch. So there's an entire thing there that is part exteroception, part interoception.
So even touch alone is little more than just exteroception then.
Right, so you have touch where you feel this, but the second we go into painful or pleasure, we go into cognition. That's a whole different set.
Okay.
So it's literally like it doesn't go to the same part of the brain.
Okay. So totally different network. It is a different experience.
Yeah, different experience completely. All right. So we go the heart, right? So we have studied basically the heart. We saw the ganglia. So it's a brain. It's its own nervous system, the intrinsic cardiac system. We saw like that pulse that it gives, that metronome for the body.
Yeah.
So same thing for the gut and everything. And then sexual organs can't find shit in that aspect. It is not studied. Can I please study the role? Like we know there's a connection between the gut flora, for example, the intrinsic system that goes straight to the brain, but like straight to a very specific part of the brain, not going to conscious thoughts or whatever. There are certain links between the brain and the viscera that are direct links. Yeah. They don't go through like one part and two parts. They just go there, go there. Right. I want to know if there's that for sexual organs. Because, why? Because going back to Reich, 1920, right? He wrote many, many books. Read Character Analysis. It's mind-blowing. And he used as a therapy. So his idea was, this is where he got in trouble, because imagine 1930s in the US, where a massive orgasm was his way to fix some mental issue.
Probably like,
so he used
like a 40% success rate out there, I think, in the world.
No, way higher. Actually, okay, you want to joke about this? Let's talk about what happened.
If I had to walk around the street, I would guess that 40% of those people's mental ills would go away.
Yes.
They just had a real banger out there.
He had like, he did that a lot with women, where he had a vibrator, right? And I can't remember if, no, it wasn't him. It was another dude who said that basically the way to hysteria, hysterical, but in a clinical type, right? They were curing that through sexual orgasm with women. So the guy, I think he's the guy who invented the vibrator, if I'm not mistaken, or some shit like that. Like the story is crazy, and he basically gave orgasm to women to cure what was called hysteria, which is really anxiety. Right. So what is anxiety? Somatic errors. So he found that. What is that? Oh no, it's a shower. He found that like same principle as the whole body hyperthermia, that a massive
one overwhelming physical
from some part of the body allows to reduce somatic error. Right. So by the way, all the stuff like what is called like the tantric stuff, sex and everything, maybe that's why. Right. So culturally speaking, and William Reich was a scientist and a great psychotherapist who really furthered the world. He saw the physical necessity the physical possibility of using orgasm as a exposure therapy, just like the whole body hyperthermia was. Right, okay, so basically all this tells you this rabbit hole there. That should be very, very interesting. Right, how come, and we are not touching it, I can't find shit.
Because it involves zero people's naughty parts, Julien.
Right, but going back to what
also in that it's not a direct study of a dysfunction either. You know what I mean? Like to draw this.
I'll disagree on that.
Well, no. I mean, like there's plenty of studies done on reproductive function.
Yes, but
all those other things. But in the capacity for this, like there's just there's one more logical step.
From the 20s to the 70s, we started to go at this, and then 50 years ago, it went away. Isn't that crazy? And we have not been back on that. In the 60s, there was a lot of stuff on that. And then it became that pseudoscience because they don't want to touch it. I think it's Puritanism that started winning again.
Nancy Reagan.
So, probably. But look, it makes sense. So if you look at my three pillars to go forward, physical one, overwhelming, mental overwhelming, sexual overwhelming. So I am looking, if you look at really what my pillars are, it's looking for the most overwhelming signals I can get from my body. So one is burn the questions. Well, shut out everything. Sex is how do I get the best possible right at this, because and you need a relationship, because the more your relationship with the person, the greater the sex is.
We talk about the art. It's not art. It's not just coming in and like having a massive fucking like ringing the fucking bell.
The gun is not good enough.
It's not really the same.
No,
thing.
It's not that.
So the build up, everything, all of that is matter because that's where the
and it's what it's an event. Right. So the bigger the event, the most overwhelming the sex is.
Which is why sometimes when you have greater history, all those other things.
Exactly. Right. And the contact with the, like you have to like the smell of the, whatever it is, like all that stuff. By the way, it's not an individual stimulus, it's an event. So you have to put it in context, right? And then the third one is mental, where I can just, my mind just goes into stuff and I can feel physically just like the chess player, like, right. So if you look at my pillars, they look for overwhelming response. And that's how I fix somatic error, which is the point of life. Right. So to me, it is obvious that there is just like there's something with the heart, there is something with the sexual organ that has to be relating to all this, because we can get such an overwhelming response from the sexual act that it tells you that it's part of this equation. It has to be. There's no other way.
On par with every other level of intensity when we talk about it. It's the same thing.
So that means that...
And though it's totally different. And that's I think to really butt against that is like when I had mentioned about touch. right? Whether it's
Yes.
it's like,
Right.
okay, but you and I both know that that's a very different kind of touch. That's a very different.
It's not the same.
The whole thing is a very different experience.
Right. So
And they
it's more
definitely-
overwhelming.
While they maybe are related, like we talk about networks, certainly related, but that is very, very, very much its own thing. Its own biological function, its own incentives.
Right. So it's its own event.
everything.
It's its own event. So that's why I think we all made a difference between sex and making love culturally, and I was right. Except it became that. The problem with that is then we started to then making love become that kind of boring, soft, like you can do crazy shit, which is the worst thing ever. Like if you look at the way birds have sex, they have like a million positions, the craziest shit ever. But then that's the point. It's like you cannot take the wild out of making love. That's the problem with making love. It became that romantic, like one position, let's not do... Again, that Puritanism got his way into this because of movies and all that stuff. If you're in love, you can't have like wild, crazy shit, sex, which is insane as a concept.
What happened, I think, was, like we've talked about, is as a society, there's just social...
Yes, the social norms got into it.
Social expansion, right? The traditional Schrodinger life increasing in complexity, it just found its way into this biological thing. You know, there's a lot of things in our life where society kind of working its way in has helped great. There's a lot of times where it needs to back the fuck off a little bit.
And we know that. What was the book that was the most sold like a few years ago? 50 Shades of Grey, which is Disney version of... It's such bullshit. I get so annoyed with
fake
this.
ass rappers.
Exactly. That's what this is. It's Disney version of S&M. It's... Anyway, I'm not going to go into that part.
But I think...
Trust me on this. From experience, it's not the way it works.
But I think there is very much... Somehow a layer has been added over that. And that social...
Right.
The fingerprints of society are all over that, like people's thought processes with sexuality, even the physicality of sexuality.
So you know what sex became? It became the equivalent of the people strength training at the global gym. Yeah. That fake ass, I'm going to do the movement on a machine, I'm doing it. But actually, no, you're not. Yeah. You're not doing shit because you're not pushing.
And I think everyone out there's probably been with somebody who was doing that version of having sex too, which is...
I'm doing girls, it. I'm sure a lot of women are going to go like, I know the guy, I've met the guy. And the guy's like, I'm doing it. Yeah. But that's when, I think that's where truly the issue is. Like, to me, even from the neuroscience aspect, there's a rabbit hole there. Like, it has to be. Yeah. It has to be. And that's when, again, when we go to tantric stuff, and then that's the door they were trying to open.
Yeah. We got to have a monthly challenge.
We could have one. Like it'll be after dark, and it'll definitely be behind the paywall.
Go boom in June, everybody.
Okay, but then I can explain.
Don't send us videos and don't tag us in anything.
Or if you're a beautiful woman, you can send it to me directly. Just go on Julien1 on Instagram and then send it directly there. We can go into the true. For example, you know what I would love is to explain that fucking 50 Shades of Grey, that is not abuse. Like the difference between men and women into expressing the same thing, just from two different sides. It's the same coin. It's just there's two different sides to it. Because one gives, the other one takes. So there's naturally a... But the idea that the master is in charge is insane. Yeah. It's the submissive that is in charge. She decides... She is not true, by the way, because I can go the other way. Let me just say she in the traditional term in that case. But let's say he's the master, she's a submissive, right? She's in charge. Because she's the one who directs where things go and stops the second she wants. The master can never stop.
And it is also
the master, the dominant.
Yeah. So, and also mentally, it is a massive amount of it is work and attention to stay like
on the dominant side.
Yeah, you're not like sitting there just fucking calling shots.
That is not how this works. That's not that because the dominant, on the contrary, has to look at one thing only, the submissive, and see which one it should go and what, and so it's an entire thing between the two. And again, who decides? The submissive. She decides when to stop. The dominant doesn't. Yeah. He actually has a responsibility, an obligation that I feel is always far more restrictive than the submissive. the submissives are in charge.
Yeah.
Always. So that whole fucking thing just drives me insane.
And that's what once any of those things, and that's the problem, is sexuality, is it's a part of the human experience, has made its way into any number of pop culture, and now it kind of trickles down into your heads. And so we have this
now they
weird,
feel guilty,
indoctrinated version of what sexuality is instead of what it...
And so now what you have too in the US especially, when you see those women that in order to be liberated, for example, if you say submissive, they're going to hate the term.
Yeah.
I'm like, then use pet, whatever name you want. I don't give a shit. But the point is that there's a side of femininity that goes this way, that you will never explore because you'll feel guilty about it. Why? Because right now, especially in the American culture, you are being told that to be a true woman, you have to be not that. Yeah. So you're not allowed to be, if that's you, and it is a part of high percentage of women, at least that I met in my life. Well, you are not allowed to be that, to be yourself.
But I believe those things play on just a traditional human role also.
Yes,
like
but that's probably why.
I mean human, like anthropological.
Yes, but that's probably why. Because it starts at the beginning, right? And that's the rabbit hole I want to go into, because to me, there's a fundamental necessity for, let's imagine that, like that whole body hyperthermia, right? So imagine if we are supposed to as a safeguard mechanism, right? When somatic error becomes too big, we are supposed to have events in our life that reduce that. And so one of them is burn the question when you train, when you wrestle, whatever, when you're almost gonna feel like you're dying, but you push through that, right? And I think sex is one of them, is another version of that. And we can't even touch that anymore because we have so many fucking rules and barriers that we're not allowed to express ourselves truly. Yeah. It's very hard to express yourself truly. Well, like you're gonna have to have confidence in a partner, but forget the partner. Like imagine putting yourself on the table and saying like, this is who I am. Yeah. It's scary on both sides, dominant and submissive side. But if you want to truly be yourself and say, this is who I am, this is what truly inside excites me, but not me just get my dick hard, like excites my mind, my spirituality, when, again, it's never an individual stimulus. It's my whole system, my whole body, my whole mind, tells me this is who I am. Yeah. Imagine putting that in front of someone and having them judge it. Yeah. Fuck. And now, there
was a, well, there was a comedian, I think, who said this, and it might have been Doug Stanhope, who was one of my all-time favorites, by the way. One of the realest motherfuckers out there, who's always been it, always. Yeah. And Doug will never apologize for anything. But Doug always said, he's like, the last thing I need to hear when I'm trying to fuck is the word ew. You know what I mean? And so, but that's...
But moral judgment.
It is just anything.
Moral judgment, I think, is the absolute worst. That will crush your soul.
Well, because, and I believe that those weird social critical underpinnings that find their way into human sexuality are where you start to then find the seeds of abusive physical behavior, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. That does not come from what sex is or is supposed to be.
No.
That comes very, very much from some fucking dysfunctional societal influence that's got stuffed into somebody's head the wrong way.
So many conversations on this subject with many women, and every single time it came back to one thing: the guilt they were feeling for truly wanting it, but not being able to express it because otherwise they are this person. And I was like, but who is this person? And it's like, do you realize that makes no sense? But the guilt was profoundly there, where they wanted it, like, it's not even they wanted it because they didn't even want it anymore. But they knew their true being was being locked up inside, that they could not express, because otherwise expressing it means I'm that person. And that has crushed so many women I talk to. So many. And there's a fundamental truth there. And I think that truth goes way past the spiritual aspect. I think it goes directly into the neuroscience, the interoception stuff I'm talking about. It's just I can't find it.
Yeah. Well, like at the root of it too, we talk about how you need to appeal socially to your environment as a baby, right? You need to get food, right?
Yes,
so you appeal to your mother, you bond with your mother. We have two primary functions as human beings, and one is to live and the other is to breed. Dying just kind of happens on its own.
Exactly.
So just as an organism.
But you need both socially.
And you require social
interaction to do that.
Way to get it.
For both.
But I think that appealing to, not even social isn't the term, but like appealing to another person emotionally or connecting in that way for your mother for bonding when you come up is good. And then I think in sexuality, it's extremely important that be there also, that there be the social thing.
There has to be.
So there has to be
proven.
some...
The oxytocin, all that stuff has been proven.
But once you get actual like weird societal constraints in and around the thing, it's not about you and a person.
Yeah, it's now you put built up.
I mean, imagine if there was that level of fucking weird hang up shit around like breastfeeding a fucking baby. You know what I mean? If the mom was like, ew, this is, you know what I mean? Like that would be fucking insane.
Yeah.
And if society ever, and now there is maybe some of that, right? Push moms can't breastfeed here or there or whatever.
But that's not true.
I think that's just, I don't think it's true.
Just because there's three assholes who said it,
it's something people talk about a lot.
But that's not true.
But if that came down to where it's like, yeah, this is like people think breastfeeding is weird, I'd be like, well, that's a big fucking problem. But I do think that has happened into the social interaction with sexuality.
Yeah, and that's, I think if there's one issue with porn, is that one.
Yes.
Is that he has promoted that the physical action is enough to have fun or stuff like that. I'm like, it's, fun, but it's way more than that.
Yeah. The other thing with porn is there's a passivity to it. And I think what I just see, don't get me wrong, I'm no saint here. But what I see is I see a lot of men who watch a lot of porn over the course of their lives. And a lot of them, the truth is, they just get real fucking comfortable watching somebody else fucking enjoy. And it really does. I think it borderline neuters you as a man if you watch too much porn. I think your sexuality gets completely neutered. You are this fucking like half fucking cuck running around because you're just watching other people get it all day. Your experience is completely detached.
And by the way, the more you watch porn, the less you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because in the high periods of activity, I never watch anything because why would I?
Yeah.
Because I always think, I can do better anyway.
Well, it's also there's just not a lot of like energy you can't also live in that space for 5 days.
I know.
But I think that the reward system that the porn now with the accessibility has with people, I think it is definitely not a force for good.
Have you noticed it's mostly the same?
Yeah.
It's mostly forceful on the woman. It's the same. Borderline, it's very aggressive always. It's a lot of pounding. It's a lot of, but it's the same format every time. I'm like, there's no fucking way. Whole of humanity fucks the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's very strange.
But I do think that there's like a gap there.
Yeah.
And I've tried to find an analogy.
Cultures of worlds.
Yeah, you're right there. But I try to find an analogy to something else that we have this like artificial condensed experience that we put up, like it is with porn. And I just don't think
fast food
maybe, but what I don't think that anything that is being bastardized like that is as important as our sexuality. So I don't think finding some fucking similarity is even going to do it justice. I think this is at the root of our humanity. I don't think porn is inherently bad or using it as bad, but dysfunction in that regard, I think where it can take you. Just like there's nothing wrong with having a few beers. Don't have 18 a day for 3 months.
Exactly. It can be dangerous like everything else. But where I'm frustrated right now, is I can't get to the neuroscience of it. I can't get to the interoception of it.
Yeah.
Not even interoception. It's like, I have all that stuff, and he shows like the lymph nodes and then the.
So we got some studies coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Ladies, I need to study this, so I need your help. Do this for the world. Do this to help people. Like, let's do this for the world.
Complicated waiver.
Probably. Agree to everything I'm gonna do. I just can't get to the interoception side of it. Like the heart, all that stuff. It's like this. I can't find shit.
Yeah.
I can't find anything. Like that one is killing me because I feel like it's a major hole in the whole thing. But like, imagine if it's the heart. Imagine if we don't have 3 brains but 4.
Yeah.
Women, I always say, men think with their dick.
Yeah.
So maybe women were right for once on that one. I mean.
Well, and I think there's other interesting things to see if you could find that relationship too, and then see because that balance, right? That matrix is going to shift over in years as well. So when I talk, someone gets to 60, testosterone production changes. So there's going to have to be a shift to the network bias that we have.
But
where the fuck is it?
Remember when the Dr. Porges in the 70s came and said the heart doesn't just beat? People are like, what are you talking about? I feel it's exactly the same thing with sexual organs. Oh, it just does that. No. I don't think it. No, I think it goes way past that.
Yeah.
So there's a rabbit hole eventually. Yeah. That's the wrong choice of word too.
There's
so many words I can't use anymore.
I should comb this one.
Because if I start to say sex, I want to go into a rabbit hole. That's just not going to go well.
I should just get I want to do this for the cooking show and for this at some point. Is just have a pop-up screen that pops up that just in the corner just says "That's what she said."
Yeah.
At each time. That way I don't have to make the joke.
Exactly.
But I can just boop. Yeah. And the real G's will see it.
Exactly.
I'll have a "That's what she said" button.
Yeah.
But
anyway, right. But that's something I need a science on.
Yeah.
Because that to me right there, and again, it could be exposure therapy. What if it's an inherently important part of the process of reducing somatic error, just like pushing when you train?
Well, and I don't want to speak because I don't know the details necessarily, but I know a couple of our coaches had posted, they work with a lot of women. Well, doing shit on the podcast before, work with a lot of women, and they had posted something recently about, that oftentimes as they start getting women just connecting with their physicality alone, get muscles working, that in the process of connecting to their body in general, then they're able to actually find orgasm when they really wouldn't before. And that's, again, we're talking about a whole event, meaning you're missing this one piece that I still believe sexuality and that expression is a pillar. But if your body, you can't move, your shit sucks, your muscles don't work, you
don't want to connect,
you're ashamed of your body, you always look
prediction wins
stuff, right?
Prediction wins.
That you're not just isolating that one system, your body, and creating somatic errors in that department. You're also not able to express in sexuality.
Like, by the way, speaking of somatic errors, right? So prediction versus observation. Yeah. What if, as you said, you're not connected to that part, or you go like, oh, whatever? That means the prediction overwhelmingly wins.
Yeah.
So that means that you're going to have massive anxiety coming from the sexual act alone.
Yeah.
That would be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. So that means that what you want will give you anxiety. What you need will give you anxiety. Mm-hmm. We talked about anxiety, sensitivity, and everything. So you could see how the stuff over time would just drive you completely off the rails.
I mean, there's many chapters, I think, on this subject. You know what I mean?
I feel it's a tremendously important scientific stuff. Just like when I talk about the heart or the gut or whatever, I feel this is just as important, if not more, to be able to have the scientific background on that. Just like on the heart and all. This should be. I have not finished interoceptive mind, but explain to me if this is not in it. Explain to me how it cannot be into a book on interoception. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
They're going to say sexteroception. I disagree completely.
Not if you're doing it right.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's something there that because again, Reich, 100 years ago, Reich talked about this. Yeah. And it was a big, big thing. But then the whole interoception, if I'm right on this, then that would explain all what Reich was talking about with the stuff. Then you know what I mean? Like that would put what he's talking about into today's concept.
Yeah. I like it.
Yep.
Well, I think that's enough for today.
Okay, cool. Then we'll do more questions next time.
Yeah. We got them piled up, so we bounce around. We got the good ones here.
Yeah, but those ones were, it's my Q&A. I wanted, those are things I've been musing about.
Yeah, but they're good to get the longer form out too. So by the way, every time you ever see a Q&A episode from us, it's going to be, we've got some questions, and what's going to happen is maybe two.
And then by then I'm gone.
And the worst thing is though, I'll pick 6 or 7 in the beginning, only because if he gets to 1, it may immediately move move to a perfect place for one of the other 7.
Maybe.
Or we'll do number 1 and number 2 and run out of time.
Done. So. And then I go sideways, and then there's 17 and 18 right there. And,
but that's got us wrapped up for today. I'm going to try and do this real fast and effective. Let's see if I've been practicing. Podcast.strongfit.com. You can support the podcast there. You can sign up at youtube.com/strongfit. We have memberships there, behind the scenes footage, early access to the podcast, Julien's assessment videos, and our long-term assessment archive. It's been a real good resource for all our coaches. We've got StrongFit1 on Instagram, Tyler F. and Stone on Instagram, Rare Barracuda on Instagram. We have all of our programs available at strongfit.com.
Did you hear the cat?
Was that the cat or Yaya?
That's the cat and Yaya. So she jumped on something.
He can't even be quiet while I say it, you guys. He has to sabotage the fucking thing. And everything else that I was going to say that I forgot now makes him money. So I don't know. I can't even dig for it. So he knows it's his loss. StrongFit.com. You can find everything else. His template there, the one-on-one stuff. It's all there. StrongFit.com. Online classroom, I believe, is the tab. We're also revamping the website, so that shit should roll out pretty soon.
I'm happy about that one.
And we'll see you in a couple days.